Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson, World Alternative Media here, and we are joined by a man who needs no introduction, Mr. Jeffrey Tucker. Thank you for joining us, sir.
My pleasure.
Now, an issue that's quite controversial among libertarians and people outside of that realm of thought is healthcare. It's controversial to talk about because people believe that you're pushing an old woman down the stairs, so to say, when we're talking about this, but the logic doesn't add up because in the long run, it's just a perpetuating problem. You put money into the healthcare system via taxation, and then you jack up the prices of that medicine, and it just continues to go in a circle. So, what are your thoughts on the healthcare system and manipulated markets?
Well, here's the thing. You know, intervention in healthcare markets began 100 years ago with government regulation of medical schools, which immediately created a kind of professional cartel. That was the very first step, and the purpose was to drive prices higher. And so already you're interfering with competition. After World War II, we started expecting that our businesses were going to provide us health insurance. This creates a big third-party problem, you know? So it's no longer a consumer-based market. And then, of course, the welfareism started in the 1960s, the Medicare and Medicaid. And then you have, of course, the problem of prescription drugs and the pharmacy system, which is so third world and Soviet, and so the solution is not easy. Actually, it is easy. We need freedom. Getting there is going to be difficult because there's a machinery of violent intervention and subsidies and patents and professional cartels. It all just needs to be completely smashed. It's not complicated. Healthcare could work like any other industry. Food, clothing, transportation, software. We could do this if we had a free market.
Yeah, absolutely. At a voluntary scale, we could help so many people as individuals who care about other people. It's not like we don't care about people. It's that we do care. We don't want to jack up these prices.
That's right. And we need markets to be unleashed so that the prices will fall and service will expand and we get more and more universal access. We will get to universal access, but not through legislation, not through government programs, but by market forces, with creative entrepreneurs finding ways to bring more wealth and health to everybody.
Absolutely. I can't help but think about all the great things that can come out of a free market healthcare system where we're talking about innovation, great new marvels. There's no incentive today to create cures. There's incentive to make profit. And, people often say, oh, capitalists are so greedy. Well, isn't it greedy to base a system on the government so all they can do is get profit and not actually benefit the customer, the consumer?
It's not about the consumer in healthcare. Try to go into your doctor's office and ask for prices. It's like when I'm here for a checkup and just say, what is the price of that? They will look at you like you're crazy. Now, what other vendor you deal with that's not going to give you prices? Go anywhere. They've told me somebody's trying to sell you something or do something for you. They're going to tell you how much they're going to charge for it. Medical care is considered like tacky or something like that.
Yeah. That
tells you there's a problem. But Obamacare was really catastrophic. It was like the final step because it eliminated competition. It eliminated a real market for healthcare. It's all bound up with guaranteed issue and certain preset packages and the community ratings, which is essentially price control. Those three things are what's leading to the so-called death spiral. The Republicans had to take those on, and they didn't. They didn't take them on legislatively because they hadn't taken them on intellectually. They hadn't dealt with this. And so that was a real failing. You can't just pass a new plan to repeal Obamacare if you don't understand the problem and the solution. And people say, oh, well, there's too much conflict in the party to get consensus. But the reason there wasn't consensus is that there hadn't been any real intellectual leadership. Rand Paul did his best. But what we really needed, unfortunately, in the American system, people looked at the president. We needed a president to have some coherent understanding of what are the problems of healthcare today and what to do about them.
Yeah, Trump certainly doesn't know too much about the free market, and he's just kind of following whatever other people tell him to do.
He paid no attention. He couldn't be bothered to read a Cato position paper or anything. It's very sad.
Well, on top of that, I'm from Canada, so I know the healthcare system very well when it's government manipulated, and waiting 12 hours in a waiting room, people die in the waiting room. You finally get in. I had this intense head pain. I wasn't sure what was happening, and they told me I had to wait 9 months for a CT CT scan. 9 months. So this is the kind of system that a lot of people in the United States are saying, well, we need this kind of system. It's such a prosperous system. And I'll tell you firsthand, it's a fascist system. And that's what it's a government manipulated system that only benefits further government manipulation.
You know, it's so tragic in a way that I don't think there's not many countries in the world that even experiment with the idea of free market healthcare. It could be distributed according to free market principles. It could be in it. I remember even after socialism collapsed in Eastern Europe, they still maintain their nationalized healthcare systems. But what you see in some countries around the world is that you have a kind of a universal single-payer system on the top. It gives bare minimum benefits, and then everything else is free. Completely deregulated private markets, and under those conditions, you get a lot of really a good thriving sector. I mean, Australia is kind of like that, right? The problem with single payer is it just gets ever more expensive, right?
Absolutely,
and inefficient. But if it's a very thin thing and minimal, and nothing else is regulated, then you can actually build up a nice private sector healthcare. And we've seen this in many countries around the world. I would like to see that happen in the U.S. But the problem is we can't seem to let go. I mean, if we ever get single payer in this country, it'll be Soviet. It'll be worse than Canada. It'll be, I mean, Americans specialize in creating the worst possible policies. We could take something that kind of sucks in Canada, pretty bad in Britain, not so hot in Singapore, and turn it into a catastrophic crisis.
Make it Venezuela 2.0.
Yeah, it really will be, right?
And finally, I wanted to ask you, and it's a simple question, why do you do this?
At some point in my life, I fell in love with the idea of human liberty, and I just couldn't shake it. And through that lens, you can understand any aspect of the world. And the things that I care about are the changing things. Why are societies prosperous? Why are they poor? Why do nations rise and fall? Why is there war? Why is there peace? Well, how come some people enjoy human dignity and others grovel eating the dirt? These are the questions that I've always been interested in, and it seems to me the template of liberty provides beautiful answers to these fundamental questions. And I'm fascinated by this every day.
Well, just finishing it up, how do you define individual liberty?
Well, I would say the absence of coercive power prohibiting you from doing something that's peaceful. That's what it is. If you aspire to do something that is not harmful to others, and somebody's prohibiting you from that, you are not free. If you're permitted to engage in peaceful activity with others of whatever sort it is, then you are free. So to me, it's not too complicated.
Absolutely. When it's voluntary, there's consent, and the only justification for coercion, as J. Edward Griffin often says, is in the defense of life, liberty, and property.
Well, sure,
and,
that's right.
And it all comes to, and I think it's a beautiful thing. I think life itself is based on the principles of individual liberty. The liberty is intrinsic within us from the time we're born. The government can't give it to us. It can only take it away.
It's the worst moment of childhood to have your parents talk to you about the existence of government. It's like the innocence is lost.
Absolutely. Well, Jeffrey Tucker, thank you very much for talking with us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Like what we do here at WHAM? Don't forget to check the links below. GoFundMe, Patreon. We can't do it without you. Any donation is very much appreciated, especially as we are so vastly demonetized and censored by YouTube. Also, check our Bitcoin address in the description and the comments, as well as on the screen for you to scan if you please. And also find me at Josh Sigurdson at steemit.com. That's steemit.com. The future of social media, where you get paid in cryptocurrency to blog and post. Until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.